Hi everyone, welcome to Central Texas Gardening. In today's video I'm going to show you all the importance of pruning, or in my case the lack of pruning, and what can happen if I don't prune correctly. So stick around, I'll show y'all what happened and how I'm going to get these tomatoes back on track. So of course life happens. My family and I have had a lot of activities going on. I've had a work conference. We've been going different places, doing different activities. So I've spent a little less time than I probably should have in the garden, and in the process I neglected to prune my tomatoes properly. So basically they're indeterminate type, so they're starting to grow kind of wild. So I'm going to try and get these under control here. So as I mentioned, these are an indeterminate type, which basically means that they're going to grow until you do something about it. Until you trim them back, until the first freeze of the fall comes around, when they die off. Other than that, they will keep growing. Not only that, but they'll grow multiple stems. As you can see, this plant alone looks like it has two, I would say three main stems, and it'll keep doing this if you don't prune correctly. In my case, I didn't prune enough early on, and in the process a lot of these suckers started to grow out. As you can see, this is a sucker. This is a much smaller sucker, one that needs to be trimmed, but early on I didn't do that, and I think that's how I came about having multiple main stems coming up from this. So it's okay, I think, in my experience, to have two, maybe three main stems, but you want to stop it there if you can. So that's kind of the main focus of this video, is stopping these main stems from forming. I don't want it to get too bushy. Obviously I don't want it to get over 8-9 feet tall, which can happen. So let me show you what I do real quick as far as pruning goes. Here's another good example of what I mean when I don't prune. As you can see, my main stem coming down right out the ground here. Now I didn't prune, so I have three main stems coming up from that one down there. I don't want to go beyond three. At that point you're putting way too much energy into growing, basically, as I would see it, three different plants, when you want your energy going into your flowers and your fruits that are going to form. So that's why it's so important that you prune. If you don't get it done on time, it's okay. The plant's still going to grow fruit. The best thing you can do is to prune the best you can on your extra main stems that are growing out. Don't let those branch off into another main stem and then another main stem. Try and minimize it to three or less if you can. So when I'm pruning, basically what you're doing is you're cutting excess branches that don't need to be growing from the tomato plant. They could form into another main stem, as you saw earlier, as you see in these photos. You don't want too many main stems. You don't want the plant putting so much energy into growing all these stems and leaves when you start having fruit form. So what you want to do is you want to prune the extra branches that are growing. And basically, when I say pruning, that is these little offshoots that kind of grow at a 45-degree angle. So this is one of my main stems coming up right here, and then you have a little branch coming out here, and then you have this little sucker right here growing at a 45-degree angle. I don't want these. Again, this is what got me in the situation I am. I didn't prune these on time, and they grew to be full-on stems of the plant. So you're going to want to cut all those little suckers off as low as you can down there. That way you can work on the plant growing up, not growing these offshoots and making all these extra main branches or stems. Again, here's another one right here. Like I said, growing out almost at a perfect 45-degree angle from one of these main stems here. Just going to clip that sucker right low, right down there, and you're good to go from there. So another thing I want to do while I'm here is I'm going to want to trim some of these lower branches down here. There's no purpose in these being down here other than to rob the plant of energy that could be going towards forming your tomatoes. So I'm going to go ahead and trim these bottom branches. Not only that, but it gets them off the ground. And when we get a bad rain, I don't want these branches necessarily sitting down in wet or wet dirt or soil or mud or anything. So it's another reason I like to trim these bottom ones. Your main thing is you want to trim from the bottom up, but you don't want to trim anything once you get to your first set of fruit. In this case, I don't know if y'all could see that, but there's some tomatoes growing right here. So obviously I don't want to cut up to those, but anything lower than that, up to your first set of fruit, is perfectly fine for the plant. It's not going to hurt it. So like I said, I'm just going to trim some of these lower branches off. Again, you're not going to hurt the plant. If anything, you're going to help it grow even more, put more energy into forming those fruits on the stem. So as it grows, I'm going to keep doing this, making sure that there's at least 4 or 5 inches from the ground to the first set of leaves. I don't want too many leaves hanging on the ground, such as this one. This one's kind of touching the ground. There's no purpose. There's no leaves, there's no flowers or anything growing on it, so I'm going to cut that one too. As long as you're below your first set of fruit, it's always worked out fine for me. Thank you all for watching the video. I hope this lesson learned that I have for y'all benefits to everyone that's watching it. Just remember, prune when you can. It is so important that you prune your indeterminate tomato plants. You don't want to get them too out of control. If they do get out of control and you get 2 or 3 branches, such as I have gotten on a lot of these tomato plants, it's okay. Prune what you can. Prune the bottom of the plant. You'll still get good fruit out of it. But pruning can help you put a lot of that energy into growing your tomatoes rather than growing a bunch of different branches coming this way and that way, and it just can be a mess. So hopefully, like I said, this helped everyone out. Don't forget, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, go ahead and click that button down below. It's free to do. If you have any comments or suggestions, leave them down below, and I will see y'all in the next video. Thank you.